Okay, got a little fodder experiment. I've done this before, but I like to do them again sometimes. Hydrogen peroxide, bleach, water. Soaked in 20 minutes, and yes, I soaked the water one in water for 20 minutes, then rinsed them out really good, and soaked them in regular water for an hour. Did exactly the same with all three of them. The hydrogen peroxide, you can see this is 48 hours, by the way. Which I normally wouldn't leave in 48 hours in a bag because this happens. They grow through the bag, and trying to clean them out, you end up tearing half these radicals off, and you've just ruined those seeds. This is the bleach. You know, it's all grown well. But this is the water. The water has done better. I have some video from yesterday, which would have been 24 hours in, which it's all just starting to sprout. Hydrogen peroxide, bleach, and water. So 1 hour soak. This is 1 day off. Yes, Grandpa's old ties. I think a few are mine. Put my reading glasses on. Hydrogen peroxide is all done exactly the same time. Bleach. Depends where you look. And then this is just plain water. Oh. Okay. There it is. There's no big difference for the bleach. And then I hear people talking about the bleach kills the mold and blah, blah, blah. No, it does not in my experience. Cleaning your trays with bleach and some scrubbing stops the mold. Sometimes you get seed that just carries mold with it. Like this barley is fine. This is from Virginia. The last group of barley I've gotten was from Oregon. It was fine. I don't like doing other stuff. I've got some oats. This is all local feed store stuff. It's nothing spectacular. I've got some oats that, you know, it's within 3 days, there's mold on it, no matter how much you soak it in bleach. And for that, which I don't use it anymore. In fact, I still have half a bag in there. I just throw to the chickens. Spray, you know, spray bottle with a little bleach mix. I just spray a little bit straight on the mold, and the fodder in the racks will get rinsed off. The sprayers run every hour, not to mention bleach, chlorine evaporates. It's in your drinking water if you have city water. I mean, I'm not saying it's good for you, but you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. But just try to stay away from seed that causes problems like that. I don't use those oats anymore. And like I said, I don't use bleach or hydrogen peroxide, and I never have a problem. But I wash my trays out. The other thing is you have to drain when you spray. This is not the fodder rack. This is just my little dark room that I put seeds in to experiment, to sit them for a day or two and see what that does. In the rack, I have holes at one end, at the trays, and they sit about 5 or 10 degree angle. I'm playing with that. The water has to drain. I don't like the flat trays, in which I have a ton of trays that are all drilled out all over the place, because I used to do the flat way. I got away from that because you'd get spots where the water just wouldn't drain, even if you had 100 holes in there. So I got away from that, because the reason when you pull out fodder and you find little spots of seed that hasn't germinated, that's from being wet. And I've heard people say it's from compaction, which is just silly, because sprouts can break concrete. I mean, you can stack this stuff up 4 inches in a bucket, and as long as it's drained out good enough on the very bottom, it'll all grow just fine. It's from sitting in water. The seeds will not sprout sitting in water. It has to drain. So, you know, my My trays are kind of like that down in the shop. Like I said, they just sit here, and I'm not watering these at all. They just sit and have a little dome over them, soak them in water, which goes to my other experiment that I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, so I don't have a real use for hydrogen or bleach. They cost money. They take more time. You need to clean your trays. You need to get away from seed that tends to mold constantly. And, you know, if you do have a problem, you can spot spray it, but keep your stuff clean. And you have to have good drainage. The other experiment, which I've also done this one before, but doing it again to kind of just show everybody. Soak for 24 hours, soak for 1 hour. They ended at the same time. Okay. So at 23 hours of this soaking, I put this one in, soak this one for an hour. So this is, let's open it up. I don't always use bags, but bags by far tend to work the best. And these are, I mean, you can get these on Amazon for like a 20 pack for a couple bucks. They're pretty cheap. Look, they're just starting, some of them. This is, I think, 16 hours after I pulled them out. But these, look at that. Everything, they're still wet. It's heavy. They're still plump. Everything is sprouted. Sit in here in the dark room for, like I said, about 16 hours. So if you can start soaking them the night before, I was a big advocate of only doing them for an hour. And if you start them the same time, yeah, the 1 hour is going to do better, but just go in and put them in the seed in the bucket the night before. The seeds pull in a lot more moisture, which I did this on a different experiment where I weighed the seeds after pulling them out for like, I did it everywhere from a half hour to every hour up to 24 hours. And it was, you know, it was not so much of a bell curve as I thought it would be. It was almost a straight line. The seeds just kept pulling in water and kept pulling in water and kept pulling in water. And like I said, look at this. This is like sand. And this is still all fat, plump, and wet. And it's all germinating. So, you know, what I'm basically saying on this one is soak your seeds for 24 hours, put them in a dark room for 24 hours, and then you put them in your tray. I mean, you can put them straight away in the tray, but these bags tend to hold the moisture. Like I said, you don't want them to be wet. You know, like these have been in here for 48 hours. I did flop these all around yesterday, and so I didn't have, you know, low spots, wet spots, anything like that. But they're all pretty much dry. But they'll be fine. If I flatten them out in the tray and put them down in the fodder racks, which I'm going to do, then I'll probably record that and show that on a later one. You know, they'll all be fine. They'll all sprout and everything else, and they'll be fed to the animals, you know, here in a few days. But it just seems the most efficient way to do it. I don't use bleach. You got to clean your trays. They have to drain. I water once every hour for 3 minutes. But I have good drainage, and I know some people talk about watering for like 11 seconds or something like that. Well, go find a timer that waters every hour for 11 seconds. It's you can find a really cheap one that does it, but then they don't last. Just sprinkler timers are what I use. But I like to give it a couple minutes, get it all nice and wet, and drain all the tannins and off the seed, and I think that helps them sprout a little faster or grow a little faster. That's why you rinse your seeds off good. You got to get all those chemicals, the natural chemicals, and tannins off the seeds. Anyway, there's the experiment. Take with it what you will.